Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 25th, 2024 Wiseburn Unified School District Board meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. Wendy, do we have any public comments on closed agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will now move to closed session and we will reconvene to open session at 6:00 p.m. this evening. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Keep it short. Dr. Hartman, can you please do the pledge?
Please stand. Hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Yeah, we have no items to report no action items to report from closed session. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you, Rebecca.
Go a second.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 4-0. Any public comments on non-agenda items?
Agenda items?
Non-agenda. I think I saw him. Yes, non-agenda. Do we have a,
Those cards.
are you gonna do it together?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
You just state your name.
And just for your information, the board is not allowed to respond to public comments, and you have 3 minutes to address the board.
That's good.
Welcome.
I don't know if this is on.
I think
You'll get a red.
you'll get a red. There's a little button. Press there in the middle.
Or not.
Maybe not.
Not working.
There you go. There you go.
Good evening, Dr. Silvers, board members, guardians, and fellow Wiseburn staff. My name is Brandy Garcia.
I'm Jessica Huff.
Together, we represent staff members from Wiseburn Middle School. In recent years, we have seen an increase of phone usage amongst our students, creating a school environment that does not align with our Dolphin Pride values or the goals and vision of the Wiseburn Unified School District. Although we currently have a bell-to-bell policy for phones in which students should have their phones off and stowed away from the first bell to the last bell of the day, cell phone access often proves to be too great of a temptation and difficult for faculty to consistently and fairly enforce. We strongly recommend and ask for your help in creating a policy that not only continues to ban phone usage, but restricts access during school hours in order to allow our students to learn and grow in the best school environment possible. Many districts across the country, including most recently LAUSD, have moved forward with restricting cell phone access on campuses. Restricting access to phones encourages the development of social skills, prioritizes academics over social media, and helps students establish healthy technology boundaries. It also reduces distractions, conflicts, and pressures associated with phone usage, creating a safer and more focused school environment.
Without phones, we can create a space in our students' and staff's daily lives that is both physically and emotionally safe. The social life of a middle schooler is already difficult to navigate, but is made infinitely more so by the constant access to their phones and social media. We are seeing an increase in bathroom breaks so students can check their phones. Students use phones to coordinate meetups in the bathrooms, to coordinate and incite fights, to check their latest posts, to chat with friends and family. Our teachers are asking for your support in allowing students to see each other as humans and not as a way to get the most likes or comments on an app. We want to cultivate a school site that promotes school culture and connection while reducing the risks of bullying and cyberbullying. While this phone ban may not address all challenges, it represents a significant step towards improving our students' academic and behavioral outcomes. With your support, we can empower our students to thrive without relying on their devices, ensuring a secure and conducive learning environment for all. Our PBIS team is committed to making this change and has already begun to create a system and process where this can be successful. Thank you for your attention and support in this matter.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, I have to say, I think I made a mistake here.
Oh,
And this was actually from the public for items on the agenda. That was what it was supposed to be. But I jumped the gun there. My apologies. So I'd like to just correct that by just going back and offering public comment on the agenda, and then we'll go through the agenda as is. And when we get to, we'll just have to have another session for.
sure.
You guys can do it
non-agenda
again, you know.
So we want to offer it
items.
as well to on the agenda, because it does say on the agenda. Yeah.
So there is a question.
Okay,
On the agenda.
yeah.
Make them. Did you write? She can't get them to move over.
Worst case scenario, do they have the ability to put it in chat or that we can either text?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, is that you that wants to make a comment? I don't know why we can't pull you over. Can I have you make the comment on my cell phone and I'll put it on the speaker? Okay, let me put you on the speaker, okay? Hi, Kelly.
This is why that agenda item is so important.
Okay, Kelly Schumacher is going to make a public comment. Go ahead, Kelly.
I wanted to make a comment on item 12.5, where you're supposed to approve purchases for the TK supplies for the new TK room. The TK team was asked to make a really comprehensive list of all the quality, really innovative materials we would like to see in all the new TK classrooms. And I'm wondering why more of those items aren't on this list of things you're asked to approve today. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, that was your comment.
Okay, no other comments?
No other comment.
All right. Right. Blake, I'm gonna turn it to you now for the special personnel action
Sure.
item.
So we did get it right by moving this agenda item. You know, we always have to change the agenda. We finally learned. Sorry. Just make sure I don't mess this one up. Okay, item 6.1, excited to announce that we actually have to approval of principal at Delaware Elementary School. With us today is Jessica Lubes. And I'm gonna turn it over to Nisha, but I just want to say that, you know, Jessica was very impressive in her interviews. close conversations, just really excited to have an opportunity to work with her and to see her lead, you know, our largest elementary school. So really, really happy about that. Congrats.
You guys want to open the item first and then have me do the other?
Idea, right? Good idea. Good idea.
I move 6.1.
Thank you, Neil. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Comment
All right.
on the item. Thank you. We are very pleased to make a recommendation of Jessica Luz as the principal at Delaware Elementary School. She comes to us directly from Maricosta High School as an administrator there. Prior to that, she's actually coming with a wealth of instructional leadership, which is going to be great for the Delaware site as well as to Weisburn. Prior to Maricosta, she was a principal for Redondo Beach, Redondo Unified as an elementary school principal. And also served as the teacher ed program coordinator and facilitator at LMU, which is where we get some of our student teachers from as well. And then prior to that, a teacher and coordinator in El Segundo Unified. So she stayed pretty local within our area. And so once again, we're pleased to make her a recommendation as a principal for Delaware.
So now. All in favor, right? All right. Jessica, congratulations and welcome to Weisman.
Our team is members of the board, Dr. Silvers, cabinet, hello. Thank you so much. I could not be more thrilled to be here. I had the great good fortune of being here for my administrative hours, actually, at the time it was Burnett. So I just fell in love with this district at the time, and I was so excited to be able to come back. Just quickly, I want to introduce to you my family. I have my husband, Dave, my son, Grady, my daughter, Peyton, and my oldest daughter, Elise, couldn't be here tonight, but they're all excited. They're all in. So thank you so much for this, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Welcome again. Congratulations to you and congratulations to the family as well. Yes. All right. Next item, Blake. Facilities. Very appropriate item considering the technical difficulties.
We're just trying to build the need.
So 7.1 is you know, as a resolution, this really would kickstart our technology, network infrastructure, et cetera, project. We did review this thoroughly with the board. We actually have representatives from Cisco, Ash Shams and Mike Good are here. We also are joined by our attorney, Saparna Jain from Atkinson Andelson. This was really a collaborative effort. Cherie's in the back. Cherie played quarterback for us on this project. And to say timing was, we were really up against a timeline and a time crunch, and really with all minds together, we're able to pull this off. I really want to thank the Cisco team, Ash and Mike, as well as all those behind the scenes that were supporting. And Chris is here, NWN. Hey, Chris. So we also have representatives from NWN Carousel, who have been fantastic in the integrator, planning this project. I mean, we're expecting this to be really a big bulk of it, 6-week project. I believe it, Chris. I believe we'll get it done in 6 weeks. I'm going to say that. No, we really excited about this project. I'm going to say, sharing with Dr. Goldman earlier today, I think single-handedly probably the most important project that we have on the docket to complete, at least early on in the bond program. Just because of the impact, far-reaching impact this will have from a safety perspective, from obviously a network infrastructure perspective. But back to Cherie, who really did a fantastic job quarterbacking this process. Working with all parties, working with me, working with the Cisco team, working with Saparna, and then of course Saparna for really detailing out this agreement, looking line by line at the bill of materials, at the CMAS contracts, and all of those things, the NASPO contracts, to make it able for us to put this in front of you. I don't know if that was good English, but we were able then to put it in front of you today and be real confident in the document and the agenda item that you have before you.
Thank you, Blake. So yeah, it's a major overhaul of our the technology system district wide and a major investment. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Rebecca. Second,
Heartily, you have a second.
fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you to Cisco. And Sharif, he loves the attention. Thank you.
You didn't have a comment? Sheree, do you have a comment? I just didn't want to leave you out. Yeah,
Another 3-hour presentation.
Want another 3-hour presentation?
As long as you're here.
Marna, I don't know, did you wanna share a comment or no questions? You're okay? All right. We did have, just in all transparency, and I did share with you in an update that we did have Suparna here because this was a very legal process and we wanted to make sure that we had legal counsel here representing us. And making sure that she'd be able to answer any questions that you had about the process. So, it seems like we've done pretty good in giving you all the information you needed to approve this item.
Absolutely. Thank you for your review and the due diligence. Thank you. All right, Blake, we're going to special presentations.
Sure.
And I.
Suparna, that was the easiest meeting ever, huh?
Yeah.
All right, good to see you. Thank you.
Special presentation number 1, I think.
Okay, yes.
Christina, Blair,
Yes.
with summer camp, right? Summer camp
absolutely.
information.
I'll kick this off too, just before I just want to say that, this, what a lift it was to start a summer camp program. This has been something that I've sort of been vacillating with for many years. We never did it. And I think there's probably a reason we never did it. Because really the time and energy and detail that goes into this type of program it's huge. So I want to thank you, Christina. I thank the whole team. I know Debbie's been really involved in this, security, a safety team, et cetera, et cetera. I know we have facilities folks and maintenance operations, custodians and such. So just want to thank everybody for that and certainly turn it over to you for the update.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Silversett. It has definitely been a lift, but it's been one that I think everybody's been really happy and proud to lift and to carry. We think from the standpoint of 25 years from now, when our kids are going to camp in Wiseburn, how beautiful it will be, and that keeps us going as we lift. I just wanted to give a quick update. Thank you for the opportunity to update you. We're in week 2 of camp. We learned a few things in week 1, just from a procedural perspective with bringing kids in, dismissals. We've perfected both. Today was really a beautiful day of just perfection and seamlessness, which was wonderful to see. We created a video from last week that we'll show to you, but I just wanted to give you some high level just numbers, just so that you guys are in the loop and you understand how many kids were attending camp, how many kids are enrolled, things like that. Between the 2 programs for the Wiseburn Da Vinci Athletic Camps, the youth program and the high school program, there's 563 kids enrolled, which is 101% of goal. I will say that high school basketball and high school volleyball really carried the day for our high school athletics. They are incredibly over-enrolled and willingly doing so, bringing in more coaches in order to help more kids and to really help them participate in the programs. We have 246 youth campers, 317 high schoolers. For the youth program, every day we have somewhere between 140, 170 kids. We're tracking enrollment day by day, more so that we can look at those numbers and help plan for next year to say what percentage of kids attend and how frequently. We anticipated we wouldn't have full enrollment every day, just summer plans, 4 days a week, it's a lot. So the 140 to 170 is a really beautiful number. We have the certified nursing assistant who's on campus every day handling any bumps, bruises, nausea, stomach aches, bloody noses, whatever it is that she's taking care of. We have 4 ground supervisors, 2 safety officers, 8 coaches, between 9 and 12 student athletes on campus every day. Then we have Debbie Evans, who is the program manager, and then Val Green and myself. Val Green's my counterpart in building this whole thing behind the scenes. We're on campus most of the days and most of the time as well. Until we are done seeing opportunities and things that can be refined. I live across the street, so I'm always kind of working from the window these days, making sure I just have eyes and that things are moving accordingly. Kids are having a blast. They're loving it. They're making new friends. Just a little anecdotal story on one of the first days, there were these 3 young ladies who looked like they were school age, and they were hugging and hanging on each other, and they asked where the restroom was. And I was like, don't you guys know where the restroom is? Don't you go here? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, where do you go to school? And one's like, I go to El Segundo Middle School. And the other's like, I go to Adams Middle School. And another was like, I go to middle school in Glendale. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And they became super best friends right away. And so not only do we have kids from our district, we also have kids from Connect. We have kids that are coming from all over the place, coming together to summer in Wiseburn to experience camp. And so it's a really beautiful thing. If we can cue the video. Oh, and just to talk to the facilities team, Archie, the team, amazing. Everything we need, we have when we need it. And it's been really, really a beautiful collaboration and making sure the kids are all taken care of and that we're best serving them. So this video we put together from our week 1 in camp, and hopefully the resolution got better. And we sent out a newsletter, and we'll send out weekly newsletters to all of our enrolled families, including videos from camp. This week we have on Thursday, we're kind of mixing it up a little bit for the second half of camp and doing some like water balloon relay races and some other fun games just to keep kids engaged in the experience. So with that, here's what
Fantastic.
Yeah, summer in Wiseburn. Questions, concerns, suggestions?
No, I just wanted to say that, Killian, my 9-year-old attended the first week and really enjoyed it. Which he is like my pain in the behind to get out the door for camps. And the first day he was very nervous, and the second day he was anxious to go. So I thought that spoke volumes to what was being provided. I love the, not having the t-shirts that we had to purchase. The idea of getting the pennies for the kids was a great one. So I'm glad that worked out, and that you've worked out some of the systems. I think something that I noticed that I actually just want to say generally is that having the security folks to direct traffic was actually very, very helpful. And I hope that we can maybe learn some things for the middle school pickup drop off and see if that's something that might help with some of the issues that we had during the school year when we have more folks. Because I thought it was, it just made it very easy for folks to ingress and egress during those crowded times. So, kudos to the whole team that's out there working with the kids, Debbie and you and all of the folks behind the scenes doing the work. It's great that, I actually heard another friend of mine was excited because her son's coming from Del Air, And she was like, well, now he'll get to meet, and they're, promoting to sixth grade. Now he has an opportunity to meet some kids not from Del Air that he might be in school with at middle school next year. And so this was like a good opportunity for him to do that and present that. So really glad that we're doing it. Hope it's still successful. I'm curious about drop off over the course of the 6-week program because it was like a bulk rate for the thing. So I would love some more, just as you track that over the summer to see if that 140, 170 number stays steady or if you do see fall off, and to just think about either weekly registration or daily drop-in rates or something like that for future summers.
100%. Yeah, that's already in the discussions of what's worked, what didn't, even for staff, for coaches, right? 6 weeks during the summer when they all, work and jobs and coach varsity teams during the school year. And a lot of the coaches leave our camp and go to the high school and then do the high school program too. So a lot of that is on the table for reflection during the course of the next few months, is because we got to begin planning for next summer pretty soon. But we're also looking at maybe doing 5 days, extending it all day, enrichment, doing a bunch of other stuff. So I know Blake made some suggestions around that. So more to
You
come.
had the right at school component, right, for the afternoon?
Yeah,
I'm
there's
just
about
curious about that.
25 kids or so that are enrolled in the aviation elementaries right at school. And so we have 3 at dismissal. We have 3 groups. We have those that we've given red wristbands to, which means their parents have authorized them to leave campus without showing ID. Those students leave from one gate. That's what we perfected this week. They leave from a different gate. And then those whose parents sign them out are leaving from a particular gate and they have to show ID. And then we have our right at school kids, which I think is 22 to 25. And they line up and then we walk them over to right at school. We sign them out of our camp. They are signed into right at school and all their parents have given us permission slips to be able to make that transition for them.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for the invitation to attend the first day. Great to be there. Great to see the enthusiasm. I don't know that I've ever seen kids more excited to go to school. It was really fun, and the energy was super positive, and great to see it's launched. So thank you and the whole team. Thank you.
Our pleasure. It has taken a whole group and everybody's really engaged and committed. And so it's really beautiful to see it come together. So thank you. Thank you guys for authorizing it and allowing it to occur and to providing the facilities for it as well.
Yeah, these camps are wonderful offerings to our kids as we just saw. So thank you, Christina, to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Not my team, the team.
The team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second special presentation, Dr. Harback.
All right, Dr. Harback. Yeah, well, this is LCAP.
There we go. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Silvers. Thank you so much for allowing us time to talk to you about the local control accountability plan. Tonight, we're going to be, I'm going to wait just a second. And if we go to the next slide. So just to start, this is a district plan as opposed to a site plan where you might find our school site plans really are unique to the sites. This is our overall district plan. If you go to the next slide. And tonight we're going to talk about a couple of different things. The first is the 23-24 closeout of the local control accountability plan. This is what we call an annual update. If you remember, I come back every year and talk about this. We're actually shutting down this LCAP. It was written over 3 years ago during the pandemic, actually. And so we're glad to see it go and move forward with some new ideas. So the next thing we'll talk about is the LCAP budget and how we went ahead and used that money to support our students. And then we'll present the new LCAP. So I'm going to go to the next one. All right. Dr. Hasty is here tonight to talk to you about our budget.
Yeah, I have about 4 slides here. So right here, you're going to see the 23-24, what we budgeted based on goal for the 23-24 school year. And that's on the left side. And we were at 13.1. And then on the right side is that estimated actual. So we projected where we're going to land. And you'll hear a lot about that tonight when I talk about estimated actuals. But we're about 13.3. So roughly about 180,000 above. I mean, that's less than 1%. It's not bad at all. Mainly because we had increases in goal 1. You'll see there it went from 7 to about 7.5. And that's really has to do with routine restricted maintenance and just increases in expenditures there. We can go to the next slide. So supplemental, again, you'll hear that unduplicated pupil count, when I talk, in my presentation after this at 37%. So that's what makes up the supplemental. That's 20% above the base grant. These dollars are restricted, and we use these to close the gap for those underserved students. For the budgeted for 23-24, we were looking at about 1.9 million, and then we landed right around 1.877 with about 17,000 left over. Really, that was about goal 2, where we had some salary savings, just with some with counselors there. And we can go to the next one. So this is moving on to the 24-25. This will be part of the new LCAP as we get it adopted. The left side shows our whole budget, and really just focus in on that top number on the left side. We see at 70%. So among our revenues, 70% of it is the LCFF funding. And then if you go to the right, you're going to see that 26 million, which is the 65% of that 70%. And then we have that sliver of what we're looking for 24-25 budget, which is 1.9. That's 5%. So that's going to be the money we have to allocate to serve our unduplicated pupil count. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So before that was revenues, now we're looking at expenditures. And so total budget expenditures, general fund, we're looking at 42 million. And then we get to the total budgeted expenditures for the LCAP to make this plan move forward is 29.8 million. Okay.
Do those numbers combine, or are they parts of each other?
Or do they combine?
Is the 29 million part of the 42?
Yes, correct. Yes.
The other 13 comprise of what?
Sorry.
The other 13 comprise of what typically?
Operations, like we have contracts, maybe legal costs, things like that. You're talking about the money that's not attributed. Yeah. So those would be our operational costs that we have throughout the district that we would not attribute to this strategic plan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so tonight I'll be talking to you a little bit about, we already saw what's called the BOP, which is the overview for parents. And the idea behind the BOP is that people can access what's going on in the LCAP very quickly and visually. And that's was put in just some years ago for anybody looking at the LCAP. We're also going to look at the plan summary for bringing in our educational partners. I just want to stop by saying thank you to anyone who participated in our LCAP committee, in filling out our surveys, and of course, spending time with us talking about it. We also will look at our metrics, our goals, and our actions. And then the last thing we'll look at is our increased or improved services. That would be for the UPP or unduplicated pupil population that we just talked about. So the LCAP is an annual process. It goes on all year, and it will continue next year. We start with looking at our goals and implementing all year long. We evaluate continually. We identify our needs with our stakeholders, our educational partners. We measure ongoing, and then we refine those goals each year. We are able to change them or to modify along the way. And then the last part, of course, is to adopt the new anytime we have an LCAP to adopt. So there are requirements surrounding the LCAP. We have from the state in orange, that is what we're required to answer to. So in Wiseburn, we have 5 goals: safety, whole child, future ready, community collaboration, and organizational strength. And those align directly with our state required priorities. Our educational partner engagement this year looked we started with our LCAP meetings in February, but prior to that, we had a number of surveys go out. We did survey usually we do 5th and 7th grade students, but this year, with the help of Dr. Ingram, we expanded that to more grade levels. We also continued with the California Healthy School Staff Survey. We allowed time for that at staff meetings, so we made sure we had input from all of our staff. And then, of course, the LCAP survey that went out to all of our families. We also have DLAC, which is our District Language Acquisition Committee for parents, and then our district leadership. And what's not mentioned there is that we do have partners at the Los Angeles County Office of Education who reviewed this more than twice with us, and then had individual meetings with myself and with Dr. Hasty on our LCAP to make sure that we had everything in place. So the key performance indicators or your metrics, when looking at this, we really wanted to make sure that we were using things that were accessible and not behind closed doors. So we have all our California, we have a metrics that answer to our state and local benchmarks for math and reading. And those are available through our sites. We have California Dashboard, which comes out, the new dashboard, I think, is going to open in November. We'll see our scores from 2024. Surveys, of course. The California Healthy Kids Survey is available online for anyone who would want to log in. And also we have our local data, our attendance, our ADA, and our disciplinary classification for our ELD students. This is quite a long plan, and there are, with our 5 goals, 62 actions. This year, what is new coming down the pike is that we had to have a metric aligned to every single action. We never had to do that before. So you'll find as you look at the LCAP that some of our metrics simply refer to other metrics rather than being redundant or trying to come up with new metrics. So safety, just some highlights here. We want to make sure that we include the fact that we'll be looking at registered behavior technicians that will work with students and our safety on campus. For goal 2, the whole child, we're looking at teacher collaboration time, maintaining that. So some things we were able to maintain, some things were new. And then also that grade level curriculum, bringing in those new adoptions. We've done 3 adoptions since the pandemic, our math adoption being the new adoption this year. And we're going to keep that going. Future ready, we were looking at keeping that PLC process moving along. I know we've had some meetings in the past week, starting that up again. And then our parent and caregiver workshops were highlighted along with our STEAM education, which has, of course, grown in our elementary schools. I actually met with Andy Desser today, and we're looking at elementary competitions, similar to what he does in the upper grades. So real fantastic growth there. And then goal 4, community and collaboration. You'll find this to be a very long, 3 and 4 have quite a few actions in them actually. So we're really putting in the supports for student attendance and looking at that new social emotional learning program to support our students and our teachers. For organizational strength, usually that has a lot to do with our budget and how we take care of hiring. Here, I just highlighted student wellness because the district does support 2 programs that our staff can access, EASE and Carasolis, to maintain, a sense of wellness on our campuses. Also, classroom technology and infrastructure, which I know have been highlighted here at the district at our board meetings. If we're looking at what we're doing for our students, we do have an achievement gap between our students who are identified as low income and those that are not. And so in doing the LCAP, we looked at those students because that is highlighted as part of this funding. So we want to keep that math specialist. Ms. Holly Compton will be returning next year. Want to make sure that she's included. And the wonderful thing about supplemental funding is it tends to be stable. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting this math specialist in a real stable way. It's made such a difference. And then we have also how we're going to address our children's emotional needs, keeping those counselors in place. That's also part of our supplemental fund. Every single meeting, people highlighted our counselors and the need for them. So we want to make sure those were stable. And also, of course, our ELD families and our ELD students. We have 2 ELD TOSA positions. We did have some shifts going forward where we had teachers who were unique to campuses. The TOSAs will be moving across campuses and working with instructional aides who are identified specifically for ELD. And on top of that, we are going to go ahead and train up our ELD TOSAs to make sure that they have all the most current strategies to work with their students and also to help our teachers understand how to use those nice strategies in the classroom. So future planning, we're going to go ahead and submit and implement the 24-27 LCAP once it's approved at our board meeting Friday. We're also going to combine our family surveys with the LCAP survey. We found that we had just too many surveys going out to families. And so we're going to somehow unite those next year and make sure that we're able to give parents a real strong survey that they can answer just once. We're going to continue meeting with those PTAs, a lot of good input from them in our student focus group at Wiseman Middle School. And then to align our LCAP metrics and actions with the site plans. We did align goals, but now we're looking toward those metrics to make sure everybody is valuing the same outcomes and working toward those ends. A little lag here. So we have our public hearing tonight, of course, and then we're going to have board approval on June 28th. And that completes my report. I think we have another presentation, but did you have some questions at all?
Questions?
What is the second presentation?
Budget.
So I want to get a couple comments.
Absolutely.
Eileen, you mentioned that our assurances happen to fit. They don't happen to fit. You made them fit. You The LCAP can be such a perfunctory document that it's something that's required, so you go through the motions and you just do it. That's not what you have done in your leadership here. And I want to personally just say thank you so very much. You have turned this into a thoughtful part of our strategic process that actually helps us become better as a district and have vision moving forward. You have done that since you got here. This is Eileen's, I'm sorry, Blake's not here. Blake! Hey, Blake, buddy! This is Eileen's last meeting with us. There he is. I wanted you to hear some comments here, if I may, but because not only have you been the LCAP queen, but I remember the very first meeting you were in, the presentation, I was on the board, and I was just blown away by your education, by your knowledge, by your leadership, by your vision. You have continued to demonstrate that every meeting, every week, every interaction. You have been such a gift to our district. I really wanted us to take a moment to say thank you for the incredible job you've done, the amazing contributions you've made, and the difference you've made here at Weisburn. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I never said Blake Buddy before.
I just heard. Just get back in here, Blake.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah.
Because the technology's not gonna work. No, I'm just kidding.
Just give us a few weeks. Here. We're gonna come back.
Promises. Sorry.
Let's see.
We had last minute updates because of the state budget updates that came in roughly yesterday, so we were making sure we had that. Some of the slides had to be updated.
You're $1 million, no big deal. Yeah, that was. Reset.
It's coming. There it goes.
It'll be good when we're able to just write to the, you know.
I know, I'll be like, here.
What is the timing on the screen?
Oh.
What is the outcome?
July 16th is the screen. All right.
We're really trying to get this done.
Word on the budget. Just having to build a case for the action.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay,
All right.
hey, good. Let me make sure this works now. Good, it works. Good afternoon, or good evening.
Certainly now.
Board members, so. Tonight we'll be doing the report for estimated actuals, and again, 23-24 estimated actuals, where we are going to land at the end of the year based on projections. And then, of course, I'll be showing you the 24-25 budget adoption as well. Sure. There we go. Okay, we'll be doing the general overview. We'll talk a little bit about that state budget update as of the information we have as of yesterday. We'll be talking about some of the assumptions, and then the meat of this one's gonna be that number 4, looking at second interim compared to estimated actuals, and then estimated actuals compared to budget adoption. So that's gonna be a critical comparison. Of course, then we'll have the MYP, and I'll show you some other pieces of that one, and then we'll look at those other funds and then talk about next steps. Okay, and then we're gonna, so really quick, just where we are in the cycle for the budget adoption. The next big step next is going to be those unaudited actuals. That will be where we actually land up, and that's where I bring that report in September. Also, just knowing behind the scenes, a lot of things that our team is working hard on is the actual audit. So we have right now we're doing interim audit, and then we do the actual audit after closing. So we also have closing as well. So summertime, I always ask, how does the business office work? It's very busy in the summer because we got to get things closed out. We got to get ready for the audit and those other pieces. So the next one, state budget update. So really, it was, let me get my notes here. Looking at the latest omnibus trailer bill, and again, that's that you'll hear about AB SB 153. But really these 3 areas, we have withdrawals of that 7.9 billion from Proposition 98 reserve. So we're going to be using, the state's going to be using some of that money from that reserve. The other big piece, and there really is that second bullet that we need to pay attention to the most, and I'll hone in on that. You see authorizes the deferral. And so remember when I spoke as second interim, I'm like, good news, no deferrals or takebacks. Deferrals typically refer to, we are going to defer apportionment or money we're going to give you to a later date. So right now it is being authorized according to the language set forth of a deferral, and you see that 3.6 billion. And again, that's in Proposition 98 funding, but that would be a deferral from 23-24 to 24-25. However, looking at the language, and if you pull up SB with the 153, it's a deferral for a month. So it's saying deferring from, the current, from June to the next July of the current calendar year. We do not know how much it's going to defer, like how much that's going to be. It's saying billions, according to us, like I'm talking about Weisbrand specifically. We know there's this bigger dollar amount that's being put out there, but we do not have a clear impact on us specifically. The other piece of that too, you see that following year, you have about 246 million that would defer as well. Again, from June to July of the same calendar year. I cannot tell you the why. I called some CBOs today. I've talked to our fiscal consultant. People are really trying to get at the root of this and figure out what that is going to mean. And so it's a piece. Now here, I'll get back to that because I want to show you what we're doing to mitigate any issues that may come about from this. But the third bullet that you see an obligation schedule. So essentially we talked about how are we going to get that $6.2 billion? There's this missing gap we talked about. So what the new omnibus language is talking about is putting them on an obligation schedule, which is essentially, I can do a little bit metaphorical, kind of like a interfund transfer loan. Like they're almost lending. They're saying, listen, we don't have this 6.2 billion, but we're going to pay it back over time. And so starting next year, there'll be a $622 million payment that the state is going to make starting in 26-27, and they will make annual payments all the way up to like 2035, 36. It's going to go on for years. So that's one of these pieces in the budget that they are doing to get this thing as balanced as possible. So it's a bit dicey. There's a lot of crazy things going on that we haven't seen in a while. But the middle one is the one we really need to pay attention to and figure out as soon as we know. And at the end of the day, I just want to be clear, like if something does impact us and it's to a point where it creates what we call a variance, a change in the budget, I would bring back a 45-day revise. And that would be something we would do in August. And I'd bring that to you guys. We just don't know enough at this point though, to really say, here's the numbers. I can give you some scenarios. And that's really what I talk about local preparation. So currently we have cash. Our cash right now, if we pulled it June 17th, we are at, let me just make sure I say the exact right number, $13 million we have cash in our accounts. So again, if it were to defer, if it's 1 month, I couldn't imagine being that much, but even if it was like $2 million, say they're not going to give us this $2 million, they're going to hold and not give us what we were supposed to get in June, and they'll give us that money and everything comes through the treasury, they'll give it to us in July. It would be a drop in the bucket. It wouldn't really have an impact on us. However, I'm very, one of the parts of this budget that you're gonna approve on Friday is a cash projection. So right now, the cash projection in this budget, the lowest month is November at about $4.5 million. And our highest month throughout that projection is about 16 million. We have never had a deferral till November. Even in 2008, there wasn't a deferral. You know, they did defer. You've heard that they gave money late, but it's never gone that late. However, you know, if they're talking about deferrals, we got to be cautious. So that's going to be the whole story today. We're in a good place right now, but with what's going on with the state, this is a time to be very cautious, and we're setting up some layers of protection just in case. So for letter A, you see that we got to monitor and we got to make sure our projections, we're looking at that cash flow. And then the other piece I'm adding to this budget is going to be different than what we've seen and also estimated actuals. We are going to commit some leftover unassigned dollars when we say that bottom line to stabilization. And all that means is we're saying here, we're putting this and it's going to be $500,000 for the current year. And I want to project that out over the next year. And then I have about 250. I'll get more into that later. But we're going to commit 500,000 and say, just in case, you know, we can put that, it's not falling to the bottom line. But if we have some type of economic uncertainty, if some deferral happens, we have this 500,000. We can say we're holding this just in case. The fact that we can do that is good. And the fact that we're doing it will be a good practice moving forward.
When you're talking about these numbers, I'm assuming you're talking about unrestricted dollars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the 500,000 would be unrestricted, definitely. So you see there, that's the B. Yes.
You mentioned it doesn't fall the bottom line. It does encompass the reserve though.
Yeah, it doesn't fall in the unassigned bottom line, but it's part of the reserve. So, and I have a slide that will kind of speak to that and show you how it's broken up. But again, so local preparation, I want to make sure we're being clear that B is that commit. C, we're going to a higher degree. If we had to, we were running out of cash, they deferred or they did a take back of some type. We would then do some lending. We could borrow from other funds that we'd have to pay back within the school year. And again, we have, 17, we're roughly around 700,000 in Fund 20. We have $1 million. We have money for that. Yes.
Sorry, same question. Are 17, 13, 20, 25 all unrestricted funds? I don't think they are.
They are, Fund 17 is unrestricted, yes. Fund 13 is deferred maintenance, so technically unrestricted because we don't have to, go ahead.
I just say from the technical standpoint,
Oh.
these are different funds.
Right.
They're not part of the unrestricted.
I'm just, my question is, can we legally borrow restricted funds? for
From those
unrestricted
funds,
use?
yes,
Okay,
Yes.
that's the point of the question.
yes, exactly. Okay.
20 is reserves. With 20.
Yeah, we have, Fund 20 is our, what'd you say?
Post
Yeah,
employment.
post-employment. Yeah, we have about $1 million there.
And 25.
Developer fees if we have to. Okay. And so the worst case scenario, and that's what I have on today's agenda, is a resolution for a tran, just in case.
I
Okay.
really don't want to do that.
We don't. If we had to though, just to go down the scenario, we would work with LACO because they have the tran lending pool. The resolution we have is up to $5 million. Roughly based on this year's interest rates, it's at 5%, roughly around there. We'd have to pay that money back within 13 months, just to give you an idea. And that all goes through the county treasury.
My question is gonna be on the interest rate. We used
5%.
it ran years ago when the interest rates were nothing, and it was 0.17.
Yeah, things have changed. There's a yield at 3.18 and then the actual interest rate's 5%. Right.
It's not immaterial, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No, now we'll get on to, I just want to stop there. Just make sure if anybody has any questions about that at this point. Okay. Okay, so revenues, assumptions, pretty standard. We do these based on our current numbers. We have a calculator, we look at school services, but we're looking at that 1.07, an increase from 0.76 at second interim, which that did have significant impact. For revenues, the other piece in there, you'll see the out years increased a little bit, 2.93, and that's our COLA at 3.08. And these are what we're using for 24-25 budget adoption. Enrollment, so we did tick up there. We're looking at a projection of 94.99%, but with funded to 88, you'll see that 22,418. But that's good. And also I'll point to that later. That's a little area we can still grow and increase revenues, as we all know. UPP, what I talked to during the LCAP, that's at 37%. We're holding steady right about there. And that will be what determines our supplemental grant. The other assumptions for expenditures, we're looking at a 1%. for certificate and classified step and column. CalSTRS is staying strong. It's where it is, 19.10. And then, CalSTRS and then CalPERS is ticking up as usual, what we've seen over the last few reports. And I'll get more into more specific that are localized, like what matter to us in a comparison chart that will talk about the assumptions. So for this is looking at second interim unrestricted dollars, and that's that first column, comparing it to estimated actuals where we think we're going to land. And again, I just want to kind of get to the meat of this. We have some offsetting stuff and up there in the expenditures. I mean, we realize, and when you hear the term, we realize certain expenditures and revenues. We have some transfers we put in and added to this one with DaVinci, which are typical year-end closing things. I just made sure now we know where we are. We're going to put those in. Same thing with some of the expenditures, but nothing of significance that it's going to make a make or break anything there. But I really want to get down to that bottom part where you see the other in and out, because this is a little bit of a change. At second interim, we were seeing 177, and that's to that left of that arrow up there. And that was for that preschool. We were transferring out to pay for the deficit of preschool. Now we're seeing 387,000. That's not all preschool. What we're doing is we're going to replenish our deferred maintenance. We had about $210,000 of deferred maintenance costs. We've been doing things last August. We have stuff on the board today that's going to start that again. We're going to start doing our summer projects. So it's just good practice to replenish. And the fact that we can is a good thing as well. So that is a change from second interim to estimated actuals. And then the other piece here, and this is the confusing one. I want to make sure I always clarify when I do it. We had a guy named Dante Gamusio. Dante Gamusio. He came in December, and with them, he did a study on our redevelopment agency funding, which is pass-through revenue tax through Hawthorne. It's a long story, we know. We did a resolution, we did a study, which says we can use that money, which is a restricted resource, and we can use it for mandated contribution for routine restricted maintenance. What is routine restricted maintenance? We have to, by law, put 3% of our general fund expenditures. We have to restrict that and say that's what we're going to use for RRMA, routine restricted maintenance. Typically, we would take general fund dollars, unrestricted, and move it over there. Sorry. What we're doing now is we're this year, we have 1.1 million we would usually have to take from the unrestricted general fund and move it over to routine restricted maintenance. Don't have to do that. We're using another restricted resource, RDA, those dollars to do that. And so you'll see that contribution there, it did go up. It did go up because we had increases in sped costs. However, it's 7 million. Now, when I go to the next slide, you're going to see a change, and I'm going to tell you why, because we're going to add more of a safety net there. And we can look at that as a bit of a safety net to offset contribution over time, and we can use it as needed. So moving on. The other big thing here, this shows where that commitment is. And so we're doing that $500 in commitment, and that's that increased economic protection we're going to put in there for stabilization. Okay. Now let's go to the estimated actuals compared to budget adoption. Make sure, there we go. Okay, so here, COLA increased, ADA, so we do have more revenues for LCFS. That's a 229,000 increase from what we had in second interim. The COLA definitely does make a big difference from 0.76 to 1.07. Look, and again, this is general fund unrestricted. I just want to be clear. Looking at local revenue, I'm being very conservative with this because we're not going to realize all our donations because sometimes, we just got to be careful. So I have unrealized revenues and I put that in there. Once we get them throughout the year, this number will change. The other thing we're being conservative about is our interest bearing accounts. We are earning more interest because the interest rate went up for interest bearing accounts. However, we're projecting those are going to go down a little bit. So we're just being conservative. This is a good place to be conservative because you're not sure, you don't have the cash always in hand for sure. But overall, you'll see that total revenue, we had about a decrease of 125. Now I put AMIM here. AMIM, arts, that's art, music, instructional grant. Why did I put it there? We gave an increase. We did increases for health and welfare. So the question is, why would that number go down? I presented the arts material instruction grant plan. And I remember saying that we are going to budget 400,000 for increases in health and welfare. So with our increase of health and welfare in general, because we increased that, but also we're offsetting with that $400,000. So you'll see that our benefits went down a little bit because we're utilizing those AMIM dollars for that year. And that's going to come up in a later slide. So you'll see as that goes away, we're going to have to think about things.
How long is it left?
Till for 2 years. So we got it for this coming year and the year after. And we're going to use 400,000 for each year's for that purpose. Okay, the other one here, textbook adoption, you'll see an increase there. This is really, we did the adoption this year. We don't, that actual purchase will not hit our books until the books are delivered. So it's something we had to move to the new year. So it's not too much of a change it's just more of an accounting thing there. But then we look at here, another piece. So self, we have secondary insurance, and I've talked about this before. I think last year we had about $37,000 check we had to pay from self. We're going to have a $57,000 one this year. What is self? It's that AB. Let me make sure I get the right one. 218. It's the for sexual assault survivors. And so what has happened is the statutory requirement opened up. So we are having to pay back premiums from previous years, not only with self, but also with ASKIP. Luckily, ASKIP, we have a little bit of a payment plan there. We can take our reserve money that we have savings, we can apply it to that, what we owe. But we just got to be ready because this check can come in. We don't know how many claims are going to be made. So we're putting some money aside, but it's causing increase in expenditures there. The other piece there, you'll see CPI for utilities. And then we have election costs. Obviously, we know what that is for next year. For CPI and utilities, one thing I did not put in this budget because we haven't realized the savings yet is going to be that solar, the part of how much money are we going to save on utilities not paying electricity. I'm not going to put that in there until it actually happens. So that's something to think about. But we do know that payment's coming and we're going to have to pay that money. And so that's that next arrow there. In May of 2025, we had that $258,000 solar payment. So you'll see that.
If I remember the projection, the first year was the most expensive because it was delayed getting going.
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to verify that.
Yeah, but that could be not an immaterial offset.
Yeah. And so we'll know. And so hopefully by, first interim, of next, I'll be able to provide some information about that.
Jason, when you get to RDA too, I want to go back to the previous slide. I have a quick question about it.
Okay, want me to go?
Sorry, you want to get down to that first? And then
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's clear.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
So here's another piece that.
Just RDA is just incomprehensible.
I understand.
Challenging. Yeah.
So here's another piece that is a good positive change. Indirect rate. We really didn't charge indirect rate to allowable resources, in the past. On top of that, we weren't really focused on fine tuning our account structure to ensure we had the right indirect rate all the time. So I've really dove into that. And what I've done is making sure administrative costs are administrative costs, instruction costs are instruction costs. But in turn, we have now an increase of indirect rate. We went from 3.89 and going into next year, we're looking at about 5.6. The way that shows up on a balance sheet is looks like a decrease of expenditures. So if you want to say, as we charge those, we get a decrease of expenditures, but you see estimated actuals there, we're at 123 in decreases. And then as we get into next year, because of that increase of that rate, we're looking at another savings of 224,000. We're passing on, again, LRABG is a good example, any restricted resource, that percent we can charge like an administrative costs that goes to our general fund or saves our general fund for the percent of the expenditures we.
And so the indirect rate applies anytime we're doing that.
On allowable sources, yeah. Okay. So, and again, this is good fiscal business. This is, what we should be doing. Okay, let me make sure. Contribution. Okay, this is back to the RDA.
So can I bring
Yes.
my question, because you're going to clarify it here, and I just want to make sure it's clear. So if you look back on that last slide, I just want to be clear that looking at line, sorry.
Oh gosh.
It actually says utilizing RDA offset. It's towards the bottom below the black line there. Right? Under contribution. We see the $6-7 million theoretically, that first line, and then $7. There's no real difference. I mean, it's a little difference, $118,000. That's with the RDA.
Yes, that's applying the full RDA. We're taking million of the, whatever we have to pull from general fund, we're taking the RDA dollars. And instead of taking it from general fund, we're using that restricted resource for our routine restricted maintenance.
So that's where I'm not understanding the math, Jason. I just wanna,
Mhm.
it's because at 1.1 million, if you
Go to the next slide.
subtracted 1.1 million from the 6.9, you'd have a lower number, but it went up. If you were applying RDA to the 6.9 million, the 7 million, wouldn't it have gone down?
No, because we had increased contribution from
We had over $1 million, but it's not showing that million, it's only showing 118. You're saying we had $1 million increase in
Yes.
contribution. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to be.
Got it.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Did-
The next slide
Good.
shows.
Okay, let me know.
The next
So the
slide
next
shows.
show.
Okay, so
Just stay here.
let me go back. So now let's move it on. I want to go here. I'm sorry. Let me get back.
It shows it there, Blake. and
Down at the bottom,
See the net surplus deficit.
1.6.
It goes
Okay.
from 981
I
to.
said it right here in front of my face.
Okay, gosh, I keep this thing lags. Sorry, guys. I mean to lag. Let me go back. Okay, there we go. It's okay. I get confused all the time going through this stuff, so I feel like we're good. So here's what I'm pointing out though. For the now, what I've been able to do, what we've been able to do is I asked, do we need to use all this RDA money? We are gonna get more of this RDA money.
So,
yeah.
We have that money, right? That RDA
Well,
money.
it's not new, right? It's our money. Yes. Okay, so, but that's a great question because it's revenue that goes into a restricted resource. And it is in our fund balance, all that stuff on the restricted side.
Okay.
So typically, again, that's gonna accumulate over time. And it's just gonna build. What we would usually use that money for, you can use it for capital improvements, construction, but due to, with the way it was funneled, that's the whole study and the resolution. We're allowed to use a portion of that money for these purposes of offsetting or using it for routine restricted maintenance, okay?
How much money do we have in that?
Right now, it's roughly around $3 million. And so I can get that. I'm gonna send you an update. I can do an update and just make sure you see the numbers. Just
Yeah, if you could show it, if you could send that to the entire board, what we currently have and what we're projecting.
yeah, I have
The
that.
next 3 to 5 years.
I'm sure you'll have that for Friday.
Yeah.
Or whenever.
Well, it wouldn't be consequential to Friday per se, but I can definitely give you, just because this is, it wouldn't be consequential.
We're higher up.
Yeah, but just to show you that over the next like 12 years, I have a projection of what we're supposed to earn, and it's significant. So the good thing about this, and this is what I'm trying to say is
And we don't have to pay that back.
no.
That's just.
We're just
I just wanna make
reallocating our own.
I just wanna make sure. that-
Exactly.
It sounds too good to be true, right? So, you know.
Yeah, that's why we had Lucio, Dante come in and do that study. This is,
Right.
it's his specialty to figure this stuff out.
Okay.
And the thing about that though, and you're gonna see that 7 million go to 7.9. So think of the RDA as almost like a lever, if you will, and I call it like another safety net. I'm pushing that up a little bit. Instead of doing the entire 1.1 projected of our routine restricted maintenance contribution from general fund, we can move that lever a little bit, and I put it back to save us a little about $500,000. But that's money, again, we're not gonna lose, it's gonna save, we can save it over there, but if we don't need to, which that's my argument, we can push that lever up and we have another safety net. We're building up another reserve here. We're gonna have reserve and we have a backup. And I think it's just prudent of us to do that if we can. And that's where we're at with this. So that's why, yes, the contribution's going up here, but we also move that lever up a little bit for 500,000. We're still using, a portion of that dollars to offset, but 500,000 less than what we showed in second interim, okay? So let me make sure. Where's the next arrow? Flagging, okay. So then again, I will show you that committed stabilization. We have that 500,000 for 23-24, but we're going to do that. That's for estimated actuals, and we're going to continue that going forward. And again, another layer. Again, we have RDA, we have the reserve for economic uncertainty, and now we have the stabilization we're going to put in there just in case. Let me get here. Okay. I'm not going to go through every line of this. I'll just go through the basics. But you'll see the total there. For 24-25, we're at 39.9 million. And then, this is putting restricted, unrestricted all together. And those are your revenues, what we're planning on receiving. And then we have 40.6 million for 25-26. And then if we get into 26-27, projection, I will say it over and over again, it's a projection. We're looking at 41.5. That's based off all those assumptions. If that COLA doesn't change especially, and we keep that same ADA.
Can you remind me what MYP stands for?
A multi-year projection, SI, second interim, okay.
Yeah, you did the other one.
Yeah,
Skipped over the
NYT,
one.
multi-year
I'm like
projection,
Still trying to play alphabet soup over here.
understood.
And it's important. This is something that's, that we have to show 3 years out.
Yeah, thank you. So below, there's expenditures, and you're seeing, we're spending 42.3. And then that's total, and then you go to 25, 26, that bottom arrow, we're at 42.5. And then we're looking at 42.464. But really, the meat of this gets into the next, the bottom half of this. I can't fit this whole thing on a document, but if you go to the next slide, this is really the bottom part of the MYP that's very critical to the business of the district. So looking at this,
Jason, we're getting back into deficit spending.
we are, but I got a slide about that, about what how far we've come with regard to deficit spending. So we are technically we're deficit spending for 24-25. You'll see there that top line where the arrows, if you go all the way to the top, you see at negative 633,000. So that is, really looking at the unrestricted more than anything else. Yeah, we are deficit spending. However, we got the stabilization. We have money left over. We can utilize this, and that's that 500,000. And the next one, let me see, make sure. And then we also have the RU. This is critical. It's mandated by statute. We have to have the 3% reserve at 1.2. The one thing I will answer, if you see the commit to stabilization, we're at 250 in the third year out. That's because of what we can afford, but it's just a practice we need to be in moving forward. However, if you look down at the leftover unassigned third year out, we're at 15,000. Before you think, oh no, it's, again, what Dr. Silvers was saying, this is part of the total reserve. So 15,000, if you were to add the 250,000 as well, we're in a better place than we were at second term. Any questions about this?
Just processing it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I know we're in a better position. We're still not in a good position 3 years out. Thoughts, comments on that?
Let me get to the next slide because I want to talk about this. So in second interim, and I got some notes I want to make sure to say. So second interim, we were showing 24-25 at 1.2. And if you compare the deficit spending to budget adoption, you see we've cut that almost nearly in half. And there's a few things I have not mentioned yet. First, I want to answer the question because I know 26-27, you see AMIM expires. For second interim, when I brought that to you, I don't project the 26-27 year, so we don't have a dollar there, just to let you know. But as you see, AMIM expires, that's that 400,000 per year. Well, now our deficit spending will increase because that goes away. However, there's a couple things with the thoughts. We haven't talked about the retirement incentive because that has an impact on how we've reduced the budget as well, and that's included in this number. So that's been about 200. The retirement incentive when we did
PARS thing?
Yeah, the PARS.
That's not built into.
No, it is built in. So that was 289,000 in savings. So that's why it did go down right there from 1.2 to 6. But the other thing is the savings from solar that we may realize. We don't have that in here. And then the other piece is looking at attendance in general. Because if we were to raise, we're at 94.9, just raising that back to the previous levels would make a significant difference as well.
I have some comments and thoughts on it too. I think that when you look at the bottom line, you're looking at a reserve that's healthy and options to allow some flexibility with RDA funds, et cetera. I think what we have, so we talked about a savings plan, right? A reserve plan. What we haven't, brought to the board is an actual, we haven't talked about a savings plan. But we need to look at some reduction costs. I think, Jason brought up solar. We're also going to see some employment, some employment savings over next year, and then our ability to use some of our restricted resources to free up some of our general fund. So, my thoughts are that we're going to see this is a much more conservative picture. And when you look at special education contracts, it's been something that we believe will cut some of that over the next year. Again, some employment savings. I think we're going to see some significant, on paper, we see some significant savings, assuming all as well.
Just my own comments is I know this meets the requirements and such. I'd like to see by our first interim next year, a zeroed out budget balance program for 3 years. So we're not in a deficit mode, if that's possible.
I want to see providing what we need to provide to our students, and if that means that we have to deficit spend while we're doing it, then I'm okay with that, as long as like says, we have plans that are not actualized on here, and we start to see that those things aren't coming through, obviously. We have to make other choices, but, you know, I'm fairly confident sitting here based on what you guys have said so far. We have some unrealized funding that is going to be coming, that we expect on the solar savings, on other things, so hopefully these numbers won't look like this, you know,
I think we need,
in another year.
to both your points, we need to get an idea of what that money is, because right now, we really have no idea, and it is, when you look at these numbers, I mean, it's concerning, we're not going in the right direction, we're going in the wrong
And
direction.
we do have significant reserves, that is the, I appreciate your comment.
Yeah.
And I do want to share with the board, if you recall, I mean, we wouldn't have been in a deficit spending model. We did, and I'm glad we did, that we approved a 4% increase for our staff at a time when the COLA was 3% higher than what it came in at. We actually approved that. So a lot of our projections were based on a much higher COLA than COLA's cut to 1%, less than 1.76.
Right.
So we're sort of building back to that, and that was out of our control. You know, it was just something that happened to us, and so now so I think actually when you consider all of that, we're in a much better place than we potentially could have been. I think that actually doing well, and we will see, I think, turning the corner on deficit spending. It's certainly something we look at every single in every column, try to figure out ways to do that, but a lot of it just had to do with this big cut that we took to the COLA after a settlement with our employees. Again, happy that we were able to do that, happy we were able to actually withstand that, you know, the reduction in the COLA and still offer that you know, the settlement, and that will just sort of not pick up the pieces, but we're gonna sort of put the pieces in play to make it work.
And I think I would propose that we have it's been a while, so we should probably have a budget
committee.
subcommittee.
Okay, sure.
Meeting here in the future to talk like exactly about what you're talking about, the two things that you both brought up in terms of solar, what are those numbers looking like, so that we have a better idea.
And did school services or Big Mat or anybody or consultants give us any projections on California's budget moving forward?
School services, that's where I get the information from, with the state budget update. That's who we use as far as.
Yeah, are they projecting?
That's why I'm putting these other pieces in place. So a few things, we have cut the deficit spending almost in half. So, you know, we do have 26, 27, we gotta consider. What was presented you know, it's better, but, interest rates, revenues for the state, I mean, these unknowns right now, we're not gonna know until roughly October. So those are the pieces. You know, if people don't pay their taxes, you know, there's all these components right now, and inflation is another big one. We are firsthand as a district, we are having issues with inflation. We've seen increases across the board. So if that, you know, decreases, you know, we're gonna see different you know, dollar amount. A 1.07 COLA, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you know, we're glad they didn't take any money back. So I think we're in a different situation. We got to be careful because right now we're cutting deficit spending. But if there's talk about deferrals, if there's talk about, you know, these things, and if it just takes a few things to make that tide turn for, you know, our state, and everybody's giving 50-50, you know, so this is the steps we want to be sure we're being careful. We want to see this get to zero. And I think over time, depending on the state and our revenues, it's possible. But I'm hoping to keep this number going the right direction, which, you know, cutting in half is a big step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like your budget.
Just again, this is a slide I haven't shared before, and I wanted to put this so you can really see the reserve. Another piece, a little layer to consider. We are really close on ADA with that 2,400 number. If we hit 2,500, then we have a rule that we cannot have above a 10% reserve. So keep that in mind. So we would have to commit these dollars. So this $500,000, this practice thereof, is a good practice to get into, because if you hit that 2,500, which is it'd be great. You know, we get ADA 2,500 more revenues, but we will have to be careful with how we look at our reserve and what we're doing with it in committing funds. But this breaks it.
Committed to RDA.
You're not committed to RDA. So what I showed at second interim had 24, 25. It was at 10%. Right now we're right around 9%. But the 25, 26, and 26, 27 have gone up from the second interim projections. They're projections. I keep saying that. So just keep in mind, like when I want to say in 25, 26, when I came out of second interim, we were at 6.8%. And then in 26, 27, we were at 3.6%. So just keep that in mind. Deficit spending going down, reserves over time. This is critical that we keep this going. And we want to get a practice if we're going to hit 2,500. I don't know if that's going to happen. And again, I forgot, we also have TK enrollment that's probably going to pick up as well. So that's going to be another piece of revenues we have to consider. So any questions about this? This kind of breaks down.
I want to add, we also what we aren't showing on here as well is $1 million, which is about a 3% reserve in Fund 20. And
Oh, wait, you're just.
Stop, you guys. Okay, the Hawaiian shirts are getting to your head.
so I was just gonna clarify the bottom line on this reserve, the 20%, I'm sorry, the Fund 20 also would add another 3% to that. And then, which is about $1 million. And then we also have our RDA funds, which obviously are restricted, but that also are serving as a quasi reserve up to about $1 million. So, you know, that is a general fund reserve there. We also have other resources that we can use to support our
We're
reserve.
not in financial distress. We're.
Yeah.
We just gotta work. Deficit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We don't want to get, we just don't want to get.
Jumping the gun.
other funds, just this is showing second interim compared to estimated actuals. Not some, you know, again, deferred maintenance, we are replenishing those dollars. The work that really brought that down under the 500 mark, you know, was we had gas line work, we had HVAC, we refurbished those portables. But the big one there that probably has the most impact on this is the GO bond. You see a pretty large decrease from second interim to now with our Measure EE and bond projects. Overall though, I'm doing well. I know Fund 63, we have to show that liability. Again, it's a retirement benefits liability we have to have on there. But it's more of an accounting, it's not a true number. Lastly, let me see here. Okay, so if needed, 45-day revise. We'll be bringing unaudited actuals in September. And, you know, we have the year-end audit going on as well, as I said in the beginning. You know, we have a few other items looking at realized savings from solar. We got to continue to focus on that ADA, getting that ADA up and increasing. Also, we're going to possibly have increases in TK enrollment. So those are going to be more dollars. And then, of course, monitoring SPED spending. And then the safety nets, as I put down there, commit those unassigned dollars for economic uncertainties like we're doing. That's the new practice we need to really hone in on. And then as needed, and that's why I'm putting that out there, that utilize RDA restricted dollars to offset routine restricted maintenance general fund contributions.
I'm assuming the TK enrollment is included in the 2,500 number, or is it not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you to everybody. Adesalia Fernandez, our account technician, Soka Takun, Human Resources, and Child Nutrition Support. I want to say thank you to Jeanette Victoria from Accounts Payable, and then Candace Allison, who I believe her last day is Friday. So that, you know, it's going to be a big miss to our group. And then David Subaki, our payroll technician. And of course, I want to say thank you to Wendy, who has to put up with me and get all this stuff ready to go for everything. It's a lot of work. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason and team. Good job. All right, public hearing. Do I have a motion on item 9.1? Rebecca, do I have a second?
We don't have to vote on this, correct? Don't we just open? We just open it.
But motion, do
Right.
I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. And we're opening up at 7:24 a.m. 7:24 p.m.
It's not that long.
I was gonna say 7:24 a.m.
Wow.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right, and do we have any comments?
This is just 9.1, Nelson?
Yeah, 9.1,
Okay.
yeah.
So on the LCAP.
I think we can go ahead and close it at 7:25 p.m. And then we'll open up the next item, 9.2. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Neil. Do I have a second? Thank you, Rebecca. And this is for the 24-25 budget. And we're opening it up at 7:25. Any comments, Wendy, on 9.2? $7.25, so we'll close it at $7.26. There it is. Fantastic. Any we got it reversed here. I'm just gonna, any public comments on non-agenda items or unagenda items?
Any comments?
Public comments, period. All right. Well,
Yeah.
there. All right, great. We're gonna go to board member reports, and Michelle, we're gonna start with you down there.
I don't have anything. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Rebecca?
I also don't have anything significant to report, but thank you to Dr. Harbeck for her years of service. And this is her last board meeting, and just appreciate all the work that you've done for the district, all the input and grace and contributions that you've made to serving our students and families over all the many years. Thank you.
You're okay. You.
I want to follow up on my comments on the bulldog bark. I said I assumed I would enjoy reading it more than the LA Times, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. It was completely true. I encourage anyone to grab this and read it. It's, we're searching for good news all the time, right? It's just good news in there. And I encourage us to do this at our middle school and at Del Air, and it's a beautiful thing for the kids, and we can focus on the positive. So I just enjoyed that. Thanks to the aviation team for doing that. Also wanted to comment about the teacher's presentation for the middle school. Completely agree. As my fellow board members know, I've been sending materials to the board and to Dr. Silvers regarding what's happening around the country and the world with regard to cell phones in classrooms and at schools. And my request would be that we either have a public conversation on this, and or that we at least explore the options, not only as they is presented, but as if you and I personally, Dr. Silvers, have talked about as well with our president, about how we keep our kids safe, safety being our #1 priority. The data and the research on bullying goes down, school performance goes up, safety is increased. I have a note here that just makes me laugh. It's a picture of the two governors of our state and Florida state, and the one thing they agree on is removing cell phones from the classroom and from the schools. So I encourage us to explore that fully, and I'd be in support of that in a way that, and I do want to mention this, that still gives us the ability to have the students in emergency needs contact loved ones and needed. So balancing that, finding that way to keep kids safe on all aspects. That's my comment.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. So a comment for me tonight, that my comment is directed at Dean. I want to thank you for your years of service. Had the chance to first meet you at the California League of Middle Schools and saw you in action as you were working on that presentation for the League of Middle Schools. And I think it's fitting tonight. I think he coined it the Queen of LCAP, and you've done so much for our district. But in talking in terms of the Queen of LCAP and the presentation that you gave this evening, I think it's fitting that when you look at the LCAP, you're leaving us in a much better place in the next 3 years. And for that, I thank you very much. So thank you for all the work that you've done. And thank you for your contributions to Whitesburg. That's all I have. Blake.
Right. We have a math update.
Every agenda. To at least say update. Sorry. I think Jason, I'm assuming you have nothing else.
Me for you too, yeah.
Right. HR has been quite busy the last few months, but we are wrapping up our busy hiring season with certificated staff. Want to let the board know at the July board meeting, We have interviewed, and these candidates are in the process of completing paperwork, and that would be for a new district music teacher, the middle school counselor, as well as a new TK teacher at Del Air. So as we expand TK, which both Dr. Harbeck and Dr. Hasty spoke about, is we are also expanding the teaching needs there as well. So that piece. And then the next few weeks, we're still in the process of securing our administrator at the SLC. So we're gonna be working on that, a special education program specialist, as well as a special ed teacher at Holly Glen for the K2 students. And so we've got 3 coming to the board in July, and hopefully a few more as we go through the process. And so we're excited that we're wrapping this part up, and then in August, we will gear up for hiring for some of our classified openings as well. Any questions?
Just on the district music teacher, can you remind us there, I know there's, is this Prop 98? No.
28.
Yes, money that's being.
28.
28 money that's being used to hire the district music teacher?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. This is
And so this is.
in
a new
addition to what we already have. Yeah.
Right. So it'll add to the, it's an elementary
Oh.
music teacher. Right, okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha. A lot of activity.
Yes.
All right, my turn.
Your turn.
Okay, couple updates from me. First, I wanna share with Dr. Goldman, I think in July, maybe the 16th board meeting, Monique, we can put together presentation-ish, recommendation-ish thing to the board regarding cell phones. I think we should start with something to bring to you, because there's so many ways that we could go about managing the cell phone issue. So I think it would be really good for us to come with something that we feel is doable and meaningful for us, and then have that public discussion. So we'll agendize it obviously as a presentation and a subsequent board discussion as you desire. So maybe we'll do that. Second, I want to share that last week we actually had our how-to program. It's our annual 3 times a year, 2 times or 4 times a year now. But we always, like that week after we get out of school, we do it while we're kind of ready to kind of tackle the next thing. Had an opportunity to facilitate the first day, which was really nice. It was a nice chance for us to take a look at our strategic foundation. Dr. Goldman, thank you for your help with that. It's really shaping up to be really nice. We're working on some of the imaging for it. It's probably going to take us this summer to get that just timing and making sure it's the right image. Then we were able to dive into our district LCAP, which is a new LCAP you just learned about. Look at all of our actions, pull out some of those important actions. And then we looked at our priorities that the board adopted back in August of 2024. Right? No, 23, sorry. In August of 23, we adopted those priorities, and then we're going to pull back, pull out those actions from the LCAP, and then sort of add to the priorities. What did come out, just to kind of a spoiler alert, was we have 5 priorities, but this year we had 2 priority focus priorities. One was math, and the other was student wellness and safety. A lot of conversation now and some consensus among the leadership team and the teacher leaders about looking at literacy, especially in our TK to 2. So pulling out, it's important, obviously math, but if kids can't read, they can't do math either. It's hard, it's hard. You have to read to be able to do math in a lot of cases, especially to move up the ladder. So really wanted to focus on that TK to 3 literacy path, voyage or journey. So we may see a 3rd priority focus this coming year as we bring that to the board. I will have that for the board on August 15th. It's actually our board meeting's on August 15th. So we'll bring that with the discussion on last year and last year's priority, similar to how we do and kind of get into the evaluation. So anyway, that I wanted to share that. It's a really nice. Second day was we were visited or we shared the day with David Stewart from Solution Tree, who came in and worked with our guiding coalitions. Want to thank those folks, teacher leaders that were here that day from each of the school sites to be able to support that process. Maggie Mayberry was here, who's our director of educational services in a couple weeks or a week, I guess. No, a few days now, huh? We're getting real close. Was also here to help support that process. And want to thank Albert, who's also not here today. 10 years, he did a long time here. it sounded like a jail sentence. I don't mean that. I mean, no, I mean, he worked really, really hard. He made it really, really hard here. And I just want to thank him. And he was here that day. That he's kind of helping us transition. Certainly wish him the best. And then my last comment, and I, nevertheless, I don't get overly emotional. Usually I'm gonna just say, you're gonna be embarrassed, but I'm gonna say it. I just can't believe you're retiring. I can't believe it. You could turn it, you can still rescind that. I just want to say that, there's, 16, 17 years that we've worked together. It's just been a real pleasure. I think what you've added to this district, the solid foundation that you've added, really systems oriented thinking, the ability to make things simple that seem hard. I think is just amazing. We have structures today in place that really were, part of your brainchild. I mean, this is something that you really thought and developed, just a thoughtfulness by which, you went about your business and your work is really remarkable. And I think that, the district will be in a better place. I think that you help mentor people below you. I know me for one, to really look at things in that way and to look at things. I mean, there's not, I always, Kobe Bryant was a great basketball player and Eileen Harback was a great educator. And I mean that. And my sports analogy that you always tease me about. But I mean, I do mean that. I mean, I just think that the contribution really was stellar, top notch. And it was a pleasure being able to be mentored by you. I will say, I think you are single-handedly the most important person in my professional career. I really appreciate that. So, I can't say anything. I'll have to say.
Thank you, Eileen. All right, consent items. Do I have a motion on 12.1?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could I just add to, I know, I'm sorry, 12.4, I heard Ms. Shoemaker's comment. I'm not fully sure I understand, what the issues with the furniture. So I would like to know if there's a way that, I don't know, Eileen, I know you have a couple days left, or Anisha, somebody could reach out and just kind of figure out what are we missing here? Certainly the goal is to provide what the room needs. And so I'm just not sure what's going on with that.
What's that? I'm wondering if it was because this is just for the Del Air expansion, or maybe there were some other things at the other school site?
It was, but I know that the team met collaboratively was Del Air and Holly Glen, and they came up with a list that basically systematizing TK.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, like what was not, I mean, and maybe I'm sure there could be an answer to it. I just don't know it. I mean, I just think in light of the comment, it'd be good. And we can't comment on it because it was an agenda item. So I mean, certainly, board can comment, we can comment on it. I'm just sharing that, I was a surprise. So I'm just curious what the issue is and we can just get that back. Yeah.
What the process was. Right. And that was, my computer was dead. That's why I couldn't comment, but yes, I'm curious as well.
12.4 too.
It's a computer, not the user, right?
I'm just curious, it was, I'm also curious about that, because everything was itemized in the two lists between Lakeshore and the furniture. And so maybe what my understanding from the comment was that she felt that there was something missing from it.
Correct.
So maybe we got the wrong version or.
Yeah, I don't know. And we approved all those anyway, right? 12.0, okay. Did we vote? We voted. Yeah, we voted.
We did
Yeah,
vote.
I just added.
We did vote. We did vote. Is there a comment maybe going back to just reconfirm the items? Is that your comment there, Michelle, or you?
Oh,
You understand?
depending on what did you wanted an action item on that, like?
No, I think what we'll do is we'll take action. We'll follow up with the board. We just want clarity. I'm sort of acknowledging the fact that we heard a comment that it was on these two items. And that, I was unaware of an issue. So I just want to point out it's something we ought to bring back. So we'll just share with you how to resolve this.
Thanks, that would be great. All right. Action items are general. Do I have a motion for 13.1 through 13.3?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do you have a second? Going once?
Second.
There we go. Michelle, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Action items, facilities. Do I have a motion for 14.1 through 14.4?
You have a motion and Noemi and
You?
Cherie took some time to explain this, but I think maybe it'd be useful if they gave us an overview as well here.
Okay, do I have a second here? Okay, and quick overview, I guess, on the lab of records and inspection.
Cherie, I think he was asking for you specifically.
He's just giving you a hard time, but either one. Both assets. It's a troublemaker.
Welcome, Cherie.
Good one.
Good evening, board. In regards to item 14.1, this is an item that the board has already approved, so the financial commitment there has already been previously approved. After it was board approved, the company, when we tried to enter into contract, made us aware that the company went through a legal name change. So they cannot legally enter into a contract under Layton, how we previously approved it. So we needed to bring it back just to amend the company name so we can formally enter into contract with them. Item 14.2, this is for the board to approve a pool of lab of record firms that we would then solicit for RFPs for future projects. And we would have them on a listing for 5 years. So they would be this is a zero commitment to the district. There's no guarantee that any firm on this list will obtain a contract with the district, but they will be solicited when these services are needed for future projects. And then item 14.3, excuse me. This is for the approval of the inspector of record services for the solar projects. So the funding for these services will come out of the bond because the solar projects are a financed project. And so the services were for these inspector of record services were actually funded through our bond funds, excuse me, and they were budgeted for. So they are part of the overall program and budget. The services that we bring before you have been negotiated and are under contracted budgeted values that we budgeted for. Similar for 14.4. These are for lab of record services that are needed for those solar projects.
Do my colleagues have any other questions for Cherie?
Thank you, Cherie.
Thank you, Cherie. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Love that.
Okay, so I had a motion from Neil, a second from Rebecca, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass that.
Oh, through 4, right? 14.4.
Yes.
Yeah, 14.1 through 14.4. This is action items fiscal. Do I have a motion to for 15.1 through 15.11 for these as well?
I'd like to comment.
Yeah, I have a comment on 15, a question on 15.1.
15.1 comment?
But no one's moved this yet, so.
Do I have a motion for 15.1 through 15.11? 11?
So moved.
Michelle, second? Thank you, Rebecca. And I think we had a comment from Neil on 15.1. And also, is that you, like 15.1?
No.
Oh, did I have any other comments from either Michelle or Rebecca on any of the items here?
Would it be a question for Kim?
Okay, which one?
On the special ed ones that are, I think it's, just
I
the
think
15.5
5
through.
through 8. Or 9, 15.5 through 59, okay. So we'll go back to those. Let's start with Neil, comment on 15.1.
Yeah, just how were these rates determined? How do they compare to the various you charted elsewhere, and how do they compare with our past?
So CDE has a tool, it's a calculation tool. We have to put the fair market value, the life of the property or the facility we have in there. We have to look at the cost of maintenance, and it's all run by formulas. And so we put that in there, and that's how we come up with those numbers. And it's governed by the civic, it's in alignment with the Civic Act law as well.
Do you consider the Weisberg factor at all?
Extra 10%.
Yeah.
No,
Is
but
there any discretion in those?
there is, you can always have discretion. You get a max number. So like, I think it was like 132 for category 3 for gym fees or something. But we went 130 because we thought a 30% increase on that would be fair. We don't want to shock.
That's what we're doing. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Rebecca, I think you had
Yeah,
a
just
myriad
a-
of comments or questions on 15.5 to 15,
11.
or I'm sorry, 11. Okay, thank you.
So on the, for the ones that are for the next school year, which I think is 15-6 through 11, how is that impacted by the hiring of the RBTs and any other district employees that we're bringing in? Because I think a number of these were services that we had last year. So just curious about that impact and whether we will actually need all of these, like, are they anticipated with the current IEPs that we have, or? Yes.
Well, thank you. It's nice to see all of you.
And welcome to your first.
Thank you. That's what I do. So yeah, these are all in anticipation for next year based on our current numbers. And so the hope is still that we are continuing to, as we add more of our own RBTs, that we can then start to look at where we can address and adjust. Right now, some of this does include some of the RBTs we hired this year that are still currently through agencies. Like I said, now that's a new posting for us to now start to bring those in-house. So a lot of these are based on still current needs going into next school year. For students that we already have and that we know what their needs are, and from transportation to different levels of support. And then we also have it's sort of maxing out some of the anticipated costs. So for some of our transportation costs that are listed, it's projecting what it would be if every single day we had transportation for certain students. And one of the noted examples, I believe, due to the students' health needs, they technically don't always go. And so we're budgeting for as if they went every single day. We only used about 1/3 of that funding last year, but it's put in the budget as the actual item. So there's sort of ways that we're trying to address it to make sure that it's there. And then hopefully as I get going and getting into everything, we're still working on the hiring piece so that we can start to still work on more, of our own support staff within our district, build our capacity, so that we can start to take over some of these things.
Yeah, I guess I'm particularly looking at like 1511, which, and it has all of the, it looks like behavioral consultants are in that one in particular. And it's $1 million worth of contracts for that, so just particularly,
Yeah, and as we go through, already I'm setting up with our behaviorists to have more consistent meetings, so we're monitoring this more closely. We are trying to continue to reevaluate the needs of our students ongoing, so that, that's part of our responsibility, is to determine if a student still requires a certain level of support. And so, for right now, a lot of this is still for our youngest population of students. And so over time, we are hoping also just that the needs will, continue to change, so we can adjust it and support in a different way instead of maybe as intensive as it is right now.
And I don't expect you necessarily to have this now, but I'm just curious about last year's cost versus this year's in the, and whether this is like, whether we're just porting over the numbers from last year or whether we've increased or decreased the.
You would know more specifically. This is pretty similar from my understanding of what was kind of before, but.
Yeah, it is somewhat similar. It's just not a move over. I did meet with Peggy on all these and looked at the individual costs. I wanted to know how many students she had, or that, we had in each program. And then the other piece we did attribute to the CPI, which is that consumer price index, inflation and increases. So we did have increases in sped. And I also projected that when I did the sped, I was showing that we were going to have some increases at the end of this year. But we did work that into the budget as far as the increases. And so conservative, yes. planning on increases. However, we're hopeful that as we get, you know, our own employees employed in these RBT, we'll start having some savings. But, and Kim and I, Mr. Jones and I will be meeting together a lot.
Yeah, I guess the part of the reason why I'm asking about that too is that I feel like we ended up increasing some of these contracts over the last year. And so if the numbers were the same that we were given, you know, on the last budget, is that really the right estimate? And so just was trying to understand.
Yeah, it's challenging because you don't know how many students you're gonna have next fall. Bottom line. So I'm like, how many do you have now? And then we have to really do a projection. And we always want to be on the side of, you know, careful with what you.
Are these contracts or we're just making best guesses on current contracts?
These would be for contracts for next school year, based on the rates for our current support services.
They're up to, right? Like.
Yes.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
It's not an exact number.
Of course, yeah, no, I just didn't know if we're making our estimate or if we've received estimates from the companies that we are using.
Based on their IEP.
Thank you.
And just Rebecca, I think to your point, which I appreciate, it's also why at first interim and second interim, we'll come back. If we start seeing that, you'll see that adjustment happen mid-year a couple of times.
Thank you.
All right, I think I have a motion and a second. 15.1 to 15.11, do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. All right, I think we can go ahead and take items 16.1 and 16.2 is just a name change at your request in terms of the executive director position. So I have a motion for 16.1 and 16.2.
So move.
Thank you, Neil. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic. 16.3, approved job description and salary schedule for executive director of student services. Blake?
Sure. Yes, I have some comments. I'd like to just say, I think that one thing that we've seen, you know, post-pandemic, probably pre-pandemic, but certainly we've seen post-pandemic is just, there's really student need and family need in so many different areas. It's become a really multifaceted approach to how you know, keep kids safe and keep kids, you know, healthy, keep our educational systems healthy. And it's a lot about inclusion, but it's also a lot about counseling support. It's a lot about, you know, acceptance. There's all kinds of things that ingredients and so forth that come into this. And, you know, just want to, you know, take my hat off to Monique for a lot of the hard work she's done as our coordinator of DEI and compliance. You know, I think that when you're a counselor, this has been brought up by board members before, when you're a counselor, you know, you're managing counselors and then also doing compliance, it feels like the two are intertwined, are conflicting. But Monique did it in a way that they really were intertwined. I think that we looked at compliance in a way that was fair. But you know, nonetheless, we see this need just expand to where we need to look at enrollment. We need to look at enrollment practices, a curriculum. We need to look at discipline structures and things like that. And really no better person to do that, you know, than Monique. And so it's a big job and one that I'm really excited to share that path with Monique.
And do I have a motion?
You have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Here.
Aye.
Congratulations, Dr. Ingram.
That's a Cuber speech.
She likes to talk as much as she reads. Thanks for accepting the challenge.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to work in Wiseburn and an honor to represent our students, our families as we move forward. It's been amazing to grow in my position here from counselor and now to this executive director position. I'm just looking forward to continuing great work with all of you and all the great people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, item 16.4, do I have a motion? Thank you, Rebecca. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. This is for the district support systems coordinator. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Blake, upcoming dates and events.
Yeah, I'm just gonna point out one, which is, we do have this regularly scheduled board meeting on Friday. It is an early one, 8 a.m. We do need at least 3 members. I think Rebecca, Nelson, and Neil are gonna be there. Yes?
Michelle?
Cool. No. I think-
Not
but we-
physically. I was told that, at first I think I was told I could do it, but I think it's a physical.
Okay.
I think it's
You'll be
better-
here. Rebecca, you're-
I'll be here.
And then I did wanna.
8 a.m., Blake?
At 8 a.m., yes, and it'll be a quick.
With some coffee, we'll have coffee.
Yes, we will. I'll make it myself. Sorry, thanks Misha for laughing. I appreciate it. I got one laugh. Is it bad?
The button that he pressed.
Better cause.
And then looking down the road, we did have the date change in July, so we moved it from the 18th to the 16th. I just wanted to do a little bit of a straw poll on that in terms of attendance, I think. I'm sorry, what day? It was July 16. I had in my notes Rebecca, Roger, and Neil. I think Michelle, you're out that day, correct? Yeah. And right. Yeah, so it would just be and then, and honestly, if we have to move this one, we can. I just wanna, just if you all are good to go, okay.
Good with it.
Okay, perfect. So Roger will sit in then as
Yeah.
acting president that day.
And
I have the conflicting calendar invites with me. Oh, sorry, on the 16th. Okay. Yeah. It's like one that says that it's like closed, the whole thing is closed session.
Oh, yeah, we have it twice.
Yeah.
And then we have open.
Yeah.
Very cool.
and then lastly, we have August 15th. That'll be a big one. We have everybody back that day. We'll also, that meeting will also review our priorities. I'll actually present those publicly. We'll also do like the superintendent evaluation that day. I'll present the priorities for the following year, and look at last year. So that'll be quite a barn burner, I think. We'll decide when we want to actually meet. I mean, it'll be a long one. So we may just, there'll be a longer.
It's like a baseball analogy. Or sports. And other sports analogy.
Just in terms of events, lots of construction getting going.
Gosh, yeah.
I'd like to attest to that. I've been watching very closely the Del Air site happening. Loud, no kidding. Yeah, it's going, it's exciting. It's very, very exciting to see all the movement going on.
You can actually supervise.
I can actually supervise with my hard hat.
I think it's fair to say we're touching every facility right, this year. We have the high school field is being built. It's currently being built. We have roof at Del Air. We also have some TK conversion happening at Del Air. We're going to be seeing solar panels here out, really, really soon. We're also seeing some deferred maintenance. Had a chance to meet with Archie last week, and he has scheduled a really nice. We did a lot of great work last year, and so it's not as much as last year, but certainly we have a good handle on our routine maintenance and deferred maintenance. I know Jason's been working on that, and then we have the network infrastructure project, which we have seen again and again and again how much we need it. So I'm really excited to get that kicked off. I just think it's such an important. I really do. I'm really excited about this project. I think it's gonna alleviate a lot of stress for people.
July 31st.
I mean, it's looking like August 1st, according to Melanie and Cherie, so I'm gonna hold them to that, August 1st.
I could name that for construction in how many days?
That's it.
No.
All right. Well, I think that's it. That concludes it. There's a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Hold on.